previously on Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along.
That's why I love to draw, and I wanna create Supa-Saturdays, Supa-Saturdays, Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please hold the applause. No praise is no praise. No self-praise, sorry. Self-praise is no praise. Got to get the quote right from my mother. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along with me, Jerome Hinds. I'll be here with you for another hour and a half. And as it says in the title, Draw Along, this is when I encourage everyone to get their pencils, pens and styluses at the ready and follow me with some very varied drawing exercises. What's that? This is episode 23. We've covered quite a few things over the past 23 weeks. Well, there was 1 week when I was missing. That was after a bit of partying and a bit of oversleeping. But remember, if you're over the pond, if you're in the States, the time is 6 p.m. in the evening there now. But I'm coming to you from Singapore. And with daylight saving time, it is 7 a.m. here at the moment. So that one episode where I wasn't well, there was a bit of partying going on, loads of excuses, no proper reasons. Well, I missed that episode, but I believe I've been forgiven. So where are we? We had an interesting show last week. We had a regular viewer named Kerry, and she was struggling with an exercise that she was doing. And let me just make it a bit bigger here for you to see. And during the show, I did a few demos. Kerry raised a few questions. So we went through a few exercises on how to gauge how tall a character is. And, drawing hands, which is always a problem. And Kerry was working on a Superman pose that I gave her some help with. So we came up with this. And Kerry was so kind as to message me, and she sent me her rendition, which is this, which she was struggling with a bit. And I'm not sure if you can see that, because it's just a photograph. And what I can try to do is, I can try to enhance this. But before I go to that, let me just briefly explain. We're currently drawing Clash of the Goliaths. And I'm going to do some inking on this later. So I'm going to split the lesson today. I mean, this whole stream is a bit of an experiment. And I don't mind splitting the time between an exercise that I've set myself and something that you guys are struggling with. So feel free to get in touch. If there's something that you're struggling to draw, maybe we can actually solve a few of your drawing problems live on the show. And yeah, I think that'd be quite interesting. I don't mind the show going in that direction. So we're going to come back to this. But meanwhile, let's have a look at Kerry's drawing here. And first thing I'm going to try to do is make it a bit easier for you to see the drawing. So I'm going to draw around the figure. I think this is like a splash page here she's got, because I think that's Clark Kent, a zoom in of Clark Kent behind. Looks like quite a nice page layout. Right, I'm going to copy this Superman, and I'm going to play with the brightness and the contrast to just make it a little bit clearer if I can. So let's go into the tonal correction. Let's go into brightness contrast. Now, if we push the contrast, yeah, I think maybe you can see the pencils a little bit easier now, yeah? Yeah, I think so. Good. And what I'm going to do as well is, because of the nature of taking a photo with a phone, you know, sometimes the image can become distorted. So we can look at the bottom of Kerry's page here and see that there's some degree of distortion going on. Because up here, look at the horizontal on the caption. That's pretty 90 degrees. But then the bottom of the page is off. So I'm going to hold our two layers. Control T. I'm using Clip Studio Paint. Control T, same in Photoshop. That takes you to Free Transform. And I'm going to pull this node downwards until I see the bottom of the page looking 90 degrees. Right. I think this is probably, oh, now we can see this vertical. Look at this vertical on the caption. Can you see that is slightly skewed? So I'm going to hazard a guess that this needs to come over. I'm going to try to get that vertical or horizontal. And I think we've slightly squashed the image by all of that. So I'm going to pull it down slightly. Now I'm going to hazard a guess that this is closer to Kerry's true drawing, what we've got in front of us. So I'm going to hit enter. So Kerry, I think, was struggling a bit with the stance. And I have to take responsibility for some of this, because I think that my stance to start with wasn't quite right. Now, hold on a second. I'm getting beside myself here. I want to play some background music. I set up a new track. I built a dub plate track for my brother in UK. Please play my music now. The moment say, you please turn that down. So here we are. And I was saying that here's my original. So we're going to get to Kerry's in a moment, but let's fix my original for us. I think that my stance is wrong. I think what I should have done, and Kerry did say this in the description, that the hands are beside him. My arms are too much in front. They're too reaching out. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to bring his arms in. So I'm selecting both layers at the moment. Go to the shoulder. Command T. I'm going to put the pivot on the shoulder, and I'm going to bring that elbow in. I'm going to bring it in, over, and in slightly. Then I'm going to deselect the top part of his arm by holding Option. I'm using a Mac. On a PC, if you hold Alt, that will deselect. I'm going to go into my Control T again, and I'm going to move my pivot to the elbow. And now I'm going to take the arm out slightly and shorten it a bit to take it more behind. Shift it up slightly. Good, I prefer that. And I'm going to take the entire arm closer to the body. I prefer this. Let's do the same thing the other side. I'm going to select the arm. Can you see me drawing that marquee around the arm? Control T, transform. Put the pivot on the shoulder joint. Bring the arm in. Now I only want the lower arm. Option. Deselect the top part. Control T. Take that outwards and make it a little bit shorter, so it's more beside him and up slightly. Right, now I've been thinking about this during the week and I actually prefer the way that looks. So let's go over to Kerry's drawing and let's see what are some of the comments that I have on this to start with. Now, I often do this when I'm doing sessions in schools in particular, where like, okay, remember last week when we went through those exercises? This is quite typical. You know, I have like a large board of different drawings that I've done to help out the students. So here, but often blue line, I call it, my students, when they send me a message with their drawings, I will draw directly on top to show them what it is, to show them my comments. The first comment I have here is, it's a very nice effort. I can say that straight away. So let's have a look at the things that most commonly give us a problem. We've got the volume of the body. So where we can see here, look at my skeleton. Right, my skeleton is bone, but the fleshing out. Look at the shoulders. The shoulders become rounded. So we can see Kerry's skeleton underneath. But what we need to do here is round those shoulders. The first thing I'm looking at is we're going to round those shoulders a little bit more. Okay, that's giving us the body volume. That's much more natural. Can you see on mine over here, the rounded shoulders? Now, I just tuck my arms in. Now, I think Kerry is a little bit guilty of perhaps having her arms a little bit further away from the body. Can you see the gap between the arm here? Okay, let's go back to my original. Right, you see the gap between the arm and the leg? It's a bit less than what Kerry's got here. So I think what we need to do is, let's do the same thing to Kerry's drawing that we did to mine. I'm going to, okay, let's switch that off behind. Let's just leave this drawing. Is it clear to you? Yeah, I think that's clear enough. So the first thing I'm going to do is exactly what I just did to my own drawing. Okay, Kerry's hands are not in yet. I'm going to take the upper arm, bring it in slightly and into the body a bit more. And then I'm going to deselect the upper arm. Her elbow is somewhere around there. Control T. But the pivot with the elbow would be, and spray that arm out to the side a little bit more. Yeah. Now again, looking at this, I'm going to shorten her arm a little bit as well. And I'm actually going to move, like I did with mine, I'm going to move this whole arm in towards her body a little bit more. Good. That looks a little bit more natural. And the same with this arm. We just decided that the upper arm should be closer to the body. Ooh, because I'm on a layer here. I've got to be careful I don't cover the knee pad when I move, or the knee area. Let's bring this arm in. Good. Then I'm going to deselect the upper part. And then push this outwards as we did with my version as well. And back slightly. Right, I much prefer this. Let me just touch in a bit of the pencils. That's gone a bit skew. So this leg is going to come down here. Okay, good. Get rid of this. Okay, so what else can we improve on Kerry's drawing? If we look at the length of this leg, of the lower leg, his lower left leg, we can see Kerry's is a little bit short. Right? Can you see how the head Look at the head size compared to the size of the leg. Okay, now Superman is also very powerful. Oh, did I mention? This is a Superman pose, right? So to make him look bigger, we have to make his head smaller. Remember we discussed this last week, right? This is what we were discussing here. We wanted a vixen, a tough lady, and this lady, we wanted a more of a normal dimension lady, and this lady here is 7 heads tall, which is between superhero and normal. Superman's normally 8 to 9 heads tall, so his head can't be too large. So we reduced the head, and the lower leg, you see my lower leg comes up higher, but reaches down much further. So I'm going to select the lower leg, and I'm going to stretch it. Right, that looks better. Good, and now it puts the arms at the side more. And because the knee is behind that leg, this is quite a nice shaped leg that Kerry's drawn here. But we can make this leg a little bit bigger behind and a bit longer. There. And yeah, drawing feet. Okay, feet are very difficult to draw because they're in perpetual foreshortening. So let's just have a quick fix of Kerry's limbs here. So remember, this leg goes in to his torso. And always keep your joints slim. So I'm going to bring in his calf there to slim the ankle area. Then we've got the heel, and here comes the tricky part. We can slightly see the heel, but then the foreshortening takes over. So I'm going to bring in, we take the knee over slightly, and the lower calf goes out. So now here's the foot coming towards us. So there's the foreshortening. Here's the volume of the foot. So we were just missing a bit of detail on the inside of the foot. And I'm going to slim that leg down just a little bit more, coming towards the ankle. Good. No, I think Kerry's dimensions here are a little bit stronger. Right, we take the waist in slightly. She's got the leg going up behind nicely. That's well observed. I remember stressing that. And we make sure we keep the volume of the body nice and rounded. Good, she's got that going. Now you see the chest drops. This gives us the volume. We just discussed the volume on the shoulders. With the chest, you want the chest to drop down to make us really feel that there's a cylindrical volume to the body. Now, if the rib cage comes in, you may have some abs here, but make sure they go upwards, and any ribs you see hug the cylinder of the body. That's what makes sure that it looks like if there's volume to the body. You've got to make sure you get that right. Good. We've got the shorts behind there. We might see the top of his shorts. Okay, old school Superman. He's wearing pants. His pants are outside, man. God damn. Okay. And Kerry's got some hands missing there. So remember we went through an exercise on how to draw hands. And I think we can just do this again because you can never draw hands too much. So let's zoom in on one hand. We know you can start with the shape and sticks. So the palm is often nicely represented by a box. So we know the hand is reaching downwards. So let's start with a box, then index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and we can tuck the little finger in behind. Thumb comes out and it meets the floor. There's our skeleton. Let's put the joints in. Here are the knuckles. Can you see that clearly? Let me zoom in. I must remember to keep zooming in so you can really see what's going on, man. So here are some joints. Remember the last joint on a finger is the smallest. We have one here, but this is the wrist here. You can see Kerry's node is behind there. Right, so we've got a basic skeleton. So let's start to flesh this out. I will move to black. Get a smaller pencil. So first thing we define, let's define our knuckles. There. Right, now let's start to get the basic shape of the fingers going. No detail, just the fundamental shapes of the fingers. He's got no bend in his fingers. Now, if you've tuned into Supa-Saturdays before, you would have heard me talk about something called an artistic footprint. And part of my artistic footprint is that I have a tendency to draw index fingers too large. I have to keep an eye on that. Right, the middle finger has to be the largest. Then we come over here. There's that joint. The inner thumb. And his fingers are touching down onto the floor. Remember, you got to keep that perspective in the thumb. Good. So his hands are not flat. The fingers are touching down. Good. So what we can do is, I'm going to, the beauty of digital. Remember comics, right? I will draw that again, but I also want to explain things about this industry. Remember, doing things as quickly as possible is very important. So you can flip, copy and flip. Okay, let's get rid of some of this. Excellent. We can go behind, just so it's easy for you to see. I'm going to delete this noise from behind. His cape is behind. There. Okay, the hand is slightly different to my original. I made the thumb come down lower. Yeah, I'm still okay with this. Okay, those are the main parts of Kerry's drawing that I think we could fix. And same with mine, I thought bringing the elbows in made the stance nicer, let's say. So good. If you've got anything that you're drawing that you'd like to go through with me, please do get in touch. Jerome Hinds Art. You'll find me on Facebook. Instagram. I'm quite easy to find. I do not hide. With that, let's move on. Moving on swiftly to Clash of the Goliaths. 1 second. Was I time-lapsing that? Okay, let's export the time-lapse, shall we? Yes, we did a time-lapse. I'm going to say okay. We're in Supa-Saturdays episode 23. I'm going to save this. It's amazing, isn't it? Why am I showing you saving the time-lapse? Because it's all what I call digital etiquette. There's my Supa-Saturdays episode 23 folder. Kerry exercise TL, time-lapse, save. The amount of times that I've come across students, myself included, we file something away and we can't remember where we put it. But take your time. Slow down, boy. Slow down. So now we're on to inking. So we penciled Black Goliath. He's the guy on the right. We penciled him first. And then we rendered him first. Then we rendered original Goliath second. So let's switch it up. Let's render original Goliath first. So So here's my spotting, right? Remember, the detail was on a separate layer and the shading was on a separate layer. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Inking, I call this key lines, KL. I use the mapping pen. I'm going to set my stability to 90 because drawing digitally, I find it's harder to keep a steady hand digitally than when you're drawing traditionally. It's definitely easier. So with the stability there, I'm going to take down the opacity slightly. Good. Then I start to ink. The size of my brush, should I go quite heavy this time? Okay, I'm going to do with 7. 7 is quite heavy for this size. And I'm going organic, thick and thin and thick and thin. Now, I'm not doing any inner detail, okay? I'm only doing key lines. Now, our light source is coming from above. So even when I ink, I'm inking with the light source in mind. Any line that I perceive to be on the underside or away from upper light source, I'm going to make that part of the line thicker. That already implies light source. It can be done. I learned that from an inker named Gary Martin. He wrote a very good book back in the 90s. And if I'm not mistaken, I just friended him on Facebook and I see he's got a new book coming out. Gary Martin is his name. He used to work with Steve Rude on the Nexus series. And my God, that man can ink. Very clean lines, absolutely beautiful. And his book was very good. I learned a lot from that book. Gary Martin. I can't remember what the name of the book is. I think I've still got it, but it won't be hard to find. Check it out if you're into inking. And of course, he's inking traditionally in that book because he produced that before the days of computers. But the principles are the same, no different. Right, so you see here with the shoe, he has a sole, but I am focusing on the outer key line. The reason why I'm doing that is that when you come to color, you want wide open areas to put your color into. Now you see these lines are coming from behind another line. Make sure they meet up with the same amount of velocity. Like, you see that line coming from this line to this line? Make sure you don't start another line like this. And you can see that you went light when they were touching. You're going to imagine that you're drawing through the object and that line carries on behind. Right there. Good. Now his pants. Are his pants actually, has Goliath got pants outside? Sorry, let me call my reference. Where's your reference, boy? Hang on a second. Let's have a look. It should be here somewhere. Here, Clip Studio. This shows you all the things I've been opening recently. And I had a Goliath. There's my Goliath references. So let's open that. Right, here's my Goliath reference. Yes, correct. He was one of the first characters. I mean, you could say his pants are outside. But are they? Okay, I'm an old school boy. I'm an old school guy. Hey, look at that. I forgot part of the costume. He's got 2 circles on his boots. I never noticed that. God damn. Okay, let's go out to our Clash of the Titans. He's got 2 circles on the front of his boot. Boot. Now, they're kind of obscured if you look at this angle. So I'm going to put it in. We might see one here. over here. Yep, we're going to see one here. And one maybe just disappearing underneath here. Wow, amazing. And I'm going to give him some pants outside. That's because I'm a Bronze Age boy. All right. Let's go back to our key line. Now, if we look at the boots, they are actually a different color. See that? They are different colors. That means that they need to have a key line as well. So there's one hiding under there. I'm going to ink that in. No, it's inorganic. It looks like a metal ball. So I'm going to give it a very solid line. And we might see the top of it coming back in here. Let's look at the other one. Okay, I won't ink that one yet. Let's do the key lines first. So I'm going to give it some underpants outside, but I'm going to go real old school. His pants are going to come down quite low. Now you notice that the pants line is thinner than the key line. That's what you call an inner contour. I normally ink with 3 thicknesses. You've got your key lines. You've got that's called an inner contour. Sorry. It's too early for me. That's called an inner key line. What are you talking about, boy? Now, I made up these terms, so does it really matter? Not really, but I digress. This is a key line. Of course, I didn't make up that word. Yee, concentrate, boy. What kind of inking is this? Right, so the key line is the thickest line. I'm going to put a little bulge there for the shorts. The shorts line. This is an edge of a boot, the edge of an object. But as it goes inside, see, it becomes thinner. Now, it's true that quite often I won't ink this part of the line because the whole boot is red. I'm doing it this time just for a bit of clarity. You know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go hardcore, man. Let me show you boys what I do. You boys and girls. You do not ink this part, not if you want maximum speed in coloring. Okay? Don't do it. Remember what was in that film? Those who fail to plan are planning to fail. It's all from the planning. It all comes together later on. There, good. Got a bit of movement in the boot there. Show the texture of the cloth. Oh, actually pretty leather, isn't it? This boot. Let me get rid of those lines over there that I said slows down your coloring. They should be on the inner detail line. By the same token, what I just told you about, me being a Silver Age boy, his pants are the same the same color as his leggings. So they should not be getting their key line inked on this layer. This is outer key lines. Okay, here comes the instep. Now this is far away from the light source. So you know your soles want to have a nice, solidly dark line. Some fold in the material here. Bit of the depth of the boot. Now let's ink those circles that I almost missed. Is that too heavy? Yes, I got too carried away with my inking there. Good, we've got the borders in there. Now let's go to his belt. His belt is a different color. Of course it is. Ooh, look, I got the shape of the belt wrong. God damn, Jerome Hinds. What kind of drawing is these? Right, it's meant to come down. Whoops, let's change the pencil. Let's have a look. How wide is it? Okay, it just goes around the width of the latches. So it's about from there to about there. The belt has a dip in it. Pay attention, boy. Remember, the center has to remain center. Let's go back to my inking. Would help if I use the right pen or pencil. Hold on a second. I'm keeping an eye on the messages, because sometimes messages come in and I'm so engrossed. What's wrong with me today? I can't speak. Oh, Jesus. I'm so engrossed in my drawing that I don't look at the messages. Okay, so look at that. The metal balls are different colors, so they need a key line. It's one, as it's going around his body, you see the shape of it is changed. I've given a depth to the belt as well, so his stomach comes in here. And what else is a different color? The buckles are a different color. So I ink these. You know, I've been doing so much digital inking nowadays that when it comes to very inorganic lines like this, I'm so used to using the line tool that I'm slowly losing the ability to ink straight lines, or what I call inorganic lines. Lines that are like bits of metal. But because I'm such a great guy, I'm going to do it directly for you here, just to prove that I can do it. I'm not really proving to you, I'm proving to myself that I've lost it. You've lost it, son. Now we come to inking the hand. Now the key line. We don't want any in the detail. No in the detail, boy. We just want the key lines. Okay, the focus of everything we do here is connected to comics. And as I mentioned, within, you know, this is what's so funny about comics, right? We get very passionate about comic art. So, you know, we really look at the artwork and we admire it. And sometimes we forget that it is commercial art. That sounds like a dirty word, but you know, it is commercial art, which means that speed does matter. Now, Goliath has this bracelet. I'm not really sure what the form of that bracelet is really, but I've taken creative license in saying that it's like a strap. But one thing we can see is it's all one color. So on the key line layer, we don't bother ourselves about that so much. But I am going to give a depth to the straps in preparation for when we come into putting that detail later on. You can see that, yeah? Now remember I mentioned a light source coming from above? This is underarm, so these lines in the hair are going to be heavy, man. And remember what I mentioned about lines meeting a line? Can you see that slightly thinner? You want to make sure that looks authentic. That goes in at the same velocity that it comes out. Same here. To the back of the arm. So in the light, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin, thick. Top of the arm. That's in the detail. So we're not going to ink that part. His bicep. His biceps could be, try to make his bicep bigger. Yeah, go and be a devil. Let's give him a few extra inches on that bicep, man. Yeah. The shoulder. Now he's got quite a funky costume in that he's got like a shoulder plate that comes over there. then another harness over the shoulder straps. Now, I was looking at this, and I'm not entirely convinced by my draftsmanship. Like, here's his costume, right? These things go over his upper arm. I mean, it's very impractical. I mean, how does that even work? I don't care, man. I love my Silver Age costumes, man. I don't ask questions. I just draw. I'm going to take this strap and extend it. I'm going to make it go further over like this. That's what I'm going to do. So we've got one metal ball here, and the other one is going to fall about here. Remember, we've got to take into perspective the dome and how bulbous it is, and it's carrying over the back. Perspective affects everything. And we might even see another one going behind there. Does that make sense? Now, the balls are different colors. That means that we have to ink them now. So I'm going to do the outer key line first. E would help if I'm on the correct layer. Remember, light source, that's being tucked away, so it's going to get dark in there. This is in the light, so still heavy, but not as heavy as the underside. There. That one's going down behind. Okay, let's do our balls now. There. Remember, these are organic, sorry, inorganic. And as such, varying the line, you can vary the line. But I often have dead weight lines for inorganic matter, or I vary the lines less. There. That's not a perfect dome. Yeah, I don't like that last one. Don't be so fussy, boy. But no. Actually, you see that? See that distance from the thickness? You're going to maintain that. You can't ignore that. So I'm going to start here. Then I'm going to take it out. That's better. Now, this strap, look at this chest plate, the upper chest plate. See, it goes from the shoulder across the chest. So where I've drawn through the object, look, it's coming up here. This trajectory here is wrong. It should be coming up here. I like the inner part. It's this, so that means that this is wrong. You can see I've got it coming up, then across. I ignored that just now in my inking. What's wrong with me today? I'm doing some terrible inking. What's wrong with you, boy? Maybe it's too early in the morning. If you just tuned in, I'm coming to you from Singapore. Most of our viewers tend to be from the States. The lady who I did the exercise for earlier, she's actually in the UK. That's where I originally hail from. Amazing. People watching from all around the world sometimes. The wonders of modern technology. Yeah, sometimes I look at the things. Like last night, I went to a comedy event. And I recorded the intro for a friend of mine. He was doing a routine there. And I thought that you could just record something like that on a hand phone. And I'm beginning to sound like a boomer. I've noticed that Gen Zers doesn't give a damn about thinking about things like that. They just accept that life is this amazing. one ball. And looking at the distance, oh no, we wouldn't see enough. That's correct. Let's carry this strap behind. So if we check in with the reference, see Goliath, he has another band across his upper chest. Look at that. Can you see the brush strokes? Look at the brush strokes on the inky. How beautiful is that, eh? These guys make it look so easy. There's not much detail in this drawing, you know. That is, the original drawing is by Gene Colan. Look at Iron Man's leg. Look at the exaggeration in that. Absolutely brilliant. There's the original Black Widow up there. Look at the exaggeration in Captain America. Jeez, look at the Wasp. Oh man, that is so cool. I'm geeking out, man. I'm geeking out in public. God damn, brother. Take it easy. I'm going to make his shoulders a little bit bigger there. Hang on. I think there might... Is that a comment that's coming? Ah, yes, it's Kerry's in the house. Hey, Jerry. I think Kerry's a bit late. I will rewatch to catch what I missed. Sorry, I'm late. Was asleep. The Pops messaged me, you're alive. Thanks, Pops. Pops is the boss man here. Oh, thanks, Pops. Watch it and learning, be proud of your geeky side. I tell you, I was a geek before it was even cool. I was a geek before it was even cool, mate. Jesus. Yes, Kerry, we went through your exercise earlier. Just very quickly, I can just briefly show you what we did. I changed the position of the arms on my original, and on yours, I changed the position of the arms. Okay, here's your original. Okay, that's your original. So I straightened your paper, and then I made your foot come to the front a bit more. I added the hands, and I brought the arms in a little bit more, like mine. Reduced the size of your head, and made the shoulders more rounded. That is a very brief explanation of what I've done, but you can watch that later, as you said, on the rerun. So right now here, I'm adding in some inking. So we've got the costume. The costume's going to come up here. In here. So yes, underarm module. Remember, I increased his biceps just now. I'm going to do the same with the other side. Let's take in, remember the wrist. I always say the wrist needs to be nice and slim. So now we go to the fist. I want to dip in the wrist there. Nice. To the outer key line, as I mentioned. No inner detail. We're not doing any inner detail, okay? Remember, the light source is coming from above. So my lines that are facing upwards are going to be slightly thinner than those on the underside. Now we come to the head. The head is the same color as the upper chest. Now, is his earpiece a different color? No, it's not. I think it's the same color. Yep, his earpiece is the same color. So we're not... Look at, sorry, people. I can't help myself. Look at the way how Gene Colan's drawn his face. I've got goosebumps here, you know. Isn't that cool? God damn. If I could clone those men, I'd bring them back to life. I know that sounds very satanic, but I don't care. I wish Gene Colan and Jack Kirby and Gil Kane, I wish these guys could live forever. God damn, that man's a geek. There, right. The chin is going away from the light, so we put in a bold line here. The mask is the edge of a plane. So we're putting a pretty decent key line there. I'm going to broaden his head slightly here. The shape of the face. So his forehead is now out here. So we get rid of that line that I just did here. We're coming to the hairline in a moment. So now let's put, he's got a bit of a Superman quiff going on. Remember, we're only doing the key line, not in the detail. The hairline. They come into the mask. So now, you see the mask? Look at the perspective E. I don't like that. See that? That's called a tangent. You don't want tangents. If you've got a line, make it go definitively behind an object and come out the other side. Not just touch the object. It's very off-putting. So we go around the front, and then we're going up the side of the head. Make sure we get the volume of the head. E. I don't like that line. Good. Now, with our rendering, remember, we made the hair kind of fly around a bit to put a bit of motion. He's not got long hair, but we can afford to make it that, like, you know, Black Goliath is a bit hair raising for him, so to speak. Of course, I've got no backstory here. Why the Goliaths are fighting? Nobody knows. But you know, that's common in comics, right? There'd be a misunderstanding. The heroes will have a fight. Then someone will say something quite revealing. And they realize that they shouldn't be fighting. They should be teaming up. And somewhere else, there's an evil villain who is the real adversary. How often have we read that? Have we seen that story? But we still like it. What I do. I'm unapologetically pure geek in that fashion, man. There's nothing better than a couple of superheroes having a serious misunderstanding, some serious violence, and then all is well. Okay, so the eyes are a different color. In fact, with Goliath, you can't actually see his eyes. He's got one of those costumes where the eyes are just white out. Well, his teeth are, of course, a different color. So we keyline his teeth. Remember, we're only doing key lines here. No inner detail. Nada. None. Zilch. So we've done quite a bit of work there. So what do we always have to say? We're working digitally. So what do? We have to
Save!
say it again.
Save!
One more time.
Save!
Damn right. The amount of times that my students have not saved and something catastrophic has happened. But I must confess, I think computers have improved. There's less crashing and stuff going on these days. People don't lose work as much. And also, I mentioned that I'm using Clip Studio Paint here. There is a backup function here. You can go into a system folder and you can find earlier versions of your work in the system folder in your computer. So, like, you know, a lot of this stuff is, saving is not as, when I say important, it's always going to be important, but it's not so disastrous. You see, I'm a dinosaur. I've been around since computers became popular in the mid-1980s. And I can tell you, they were crashing and corrupting work. You'd switch on your computer, and for some reason, you can't open the file. That might still happen now, right? But it happens a lot less. Trust me. Right, I can see there's a comment coming. Let's see what I've missed. Oh, Kerry's in fine voice. I got a second. Let's see what else. I'm terrible. I'm the world's worst producer. She said that Pops is her alarm clock. Well, he tried to alarm clock me that week when I missed the lesson, but it didn't work. Indeed. We are all geeks here. Indeed. Okay, what's this? If you notice the foot that's behind him, I have too much showing, which I learned from rewatching your lives last week. Actually, all right, going back to your sketch. Kerry in the house here. Okay, your foot behind it. Okay, you've got more showing, but I didn't really have a problem with it, to be honest. It was different. But, okay, you got more foot showing, okay? So I would say maybe the toes would be curled maybe a little bit more. And you might see a hint of the calf behind. But I wouldn't say that what you did was really wrong. It could be at that trajectory. You know, when I saw it, I didn't really think it looked that bad. Of course, there'd be a bulge here with his toes on the floor. But you might see a bit of calf if you show that much foot. Good. Save. Look at that. That was a live save. That wasn't a recorded save. That was live and direct. Right. So we've done our key lines here. Oh, sorry, I haven't finished my messages, have I? They're the world's worst producer, man. What's this? Okay, people, I got to go to the path of the Peer Rider launch party. Be cool. Oh, yes, Pop says that the launch party. Now, I'm not telling you to leave my stream, but, you know, anything that's for the good of badness, it's all good. Okay, it says, love your drawing. Oh, thanks, Kerry. You're most welcome. I hope. No, I'm not too in love with my eyes. I'm looking at this drawing, right? And I think I can do better on this. Now, I want to make him look a little bit more angry. So let's zoom in. Let's zoom in. Tight like a tiger. Eee! Sorry, I've still got my corrective red ink going. Let's make the expression a little bit more angry, I think. Yes, I think I prefer this. Let me, thicken it. I wouldn't exactly call it mascara, but I do prefer my characters to have thicker lines around their eye sockets, etc. Good. Now, a lot of the fine detail on this will come in from the rendering, the shading. Okay, I think that's a bit more expressive than what we had before. Good. So now we're going to get to the inner detail. So there we've got key lines. So now we're going to do something that I'm fast calling inner detail, ID. So this is where we finish off the most important detail. Like this. The boot. As mentioned, you're going to see how this helps us when it comes to coloring. It speeds up the process. So we're putting the sole of the boot here. We go for the costume first. The shading or the contours of the muscles we will do later. Remember I said I'm going to give him some pants, but I'm going full Silver Age. His pants are going to be quite large, so they're a bit down the leg. Very Jack Kirby-esque. I'm guilty of drawing some very, very skimpy shorts. The king of skimpy shorts is the man called Jim Starlin. The way he drew Captain Marvel, completely, when I was a kid, that completely made me rethink the way how I used to draw shorts. What the hell am I talking about? What the hell? Who has conversations about how to draw shorts? Well, I think geeks would, right? Fair enough. I've got another show coming up on the Madness Entertainment Group, exclusive to Roku, called, it's going to be named Pack, Panels, Art, and Comic Book Knowledge, where I won't be doing that much drawing, but it will be all about the parts of comic book creation that's not readily spoken about. So the size of someone's shorts, you might find on that show. In fact, you know what? Let me say no more. I'm going to run the trailer for Pack. Okay, this is a show that I've got coming up on the Madness Entertainment Group, right? And I got a bit of promo material here. Shameless plug time. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's do a bit of shameless plugging here, yeah, for my upcoming show on Pack. I think I've got the introduction, and I've also got a little foreword that I'm going to have. So a couple of minutes. Let's see what's going to happen on Pack. Sorry, that was the wrong one. Notice that I told you I was the world's worst producer, didn't I? Wait, hang on. Let's try again.
ACK, panels out and comic book knowledge. ACK, panels out and comic book knowledge. ACK, panels out and comic book knowledge. ACK, panels out and comic book knowledge.
Right. So as I was saying, that's an upcoming show that I've got coming. An upcoming show that I've got coming. What kind of English is this? That should be, you know, hang on. This is actually going to be on the first episode. I just played this. I'll play this as well.
Hello there. My name is Jerome Pac-Man Hinds, and I'd like to start with a most sincere thank you for you joining me here on PACK, Pack, by the Madness Entertainment Group. I'm the president of the Association of Comic Artists Singapore. I regularly teach students of all ages about the art form of visual storytelling. I'm an indie publisher and have worked on many books over the past years, but much more on this later. Pack will be a show that touches on almost every aspect of comic book and manga creation, paneling, art, in fact, all comic book knowledge, which includes the bits that people rarely talk about, like essential tips on how to letter and save space, or solve ugly page layouts. If only we all knew what we later discover as adults, eh? Now, do it!
Okay, so you've seen that, you heard that. So that's what I'll be doing, and we're going to get into a lot of really interesting subject matter on that show, and I hope you guys can join me for that. It would be most greatly appreciated. Looking forward to that. And let me just quickly check on the messages just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Oh, there's quite a few in there. Okay. Love your drawing. Okay, I've seen that before. Okay. It's in 4 minutes. Okay, I'm not sure what's in 4 minutes. Is that live stream? Possibly. You look pretty mad, I think. You're too hard on yourself. Oh, all right. Changing the eyes. Yeah, man. I'm really hard on myself. What's this? What the peanut roast heck is going on in here? Doc Blaylock. Doc, I'm having a show. Tune in. Jerry, it's killing as usual. Got to go. Okay, Pops is out of here. Where is Laurie? Where is Laurie launching? Oh, okay. He's going to watch the launch party. I think it's on YouTube, Doc. No, pilled. It's more likely pilled. So where was I? In the detail. Okay, we've got these straps here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use a different tool for this because this is Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along, and I'm supposed to be teaching you different stuff. So, okay, you see me doing a lot of freehand stuff. In Clip Studio Paint, in real life, you'd use a French curve. Yep, an inorganic, a mechanical curve. In Clip Studio, you got the curve tool, like this. And you can increase the widths here, see the brush size. Or on your keypad, you got the square brackets. The square brackets are just above and to the left of the return key. And there, you can change, the left bracket makes it thinner, and the right bracket makes it thicker. Now, quite often, when I get to inorganic material, if the lines are very long, I might use this tool. Now, I would do this freehand, but I'm going to use the tool here, just so you can see how it's used. So you have to do part of the line, then we're getting close. Get it tight, tight like a tiger. There, you see, I'm joining. I can't do it all in one go. Note how the line is a little bit thinner. This is a different plane on the image, but because it's going to be the same color, I don't want it to be too harsh. So I'm making it a thinner line. And you see I'm joining, then stretching backwards in the other direction. I'm going to put in the outside line first, like this. Then I'm going to manually join it up because I want it to have a slight curved edge. Now, I could have done this with a curve tool, but just to show you that you can do both things at the same time with the curve tool or freehand. Now, looking at this, can you see that this strap on the left is thicker than the one on the right? That is a mistake by moi. I'm going to have to take this line. I like the thickness of the one on the left. So I'm going to push this. I've selected it. I'm pushing it to the left. So my straps are more of a similar thickness. Does that look more consistent? Yeah, I'll go with that. Control D or Command D, deselect. We've deselected the active area. And keyline. I'm making it slightly thinner. There. Just go back to that. Always keep your drawing as neat and tight as possible. Yeah, go back. As you correct something, make sure it's corrected right across the whole image. There in the detail. Get rid of that. Nice. Nice. Good for nice. As my son would say when he was growing up. I'm going to put an inner line in here. That's going to be a bit thinner. You're going to make sure that you keep this gap as consistent as possible. See that? If you don't concentrate, you can make a mess of this. Now, quite funny, this is going away from our point of view. It's not perfect, but I don't want to be too pedantic. Yee, that one is definitely not going to fly. There. And bring that one into the bottom. I think that'll do. Good, that's the strap. Now, the one going across his chest, I want the same thickness for this one. I'm going to put in a thickness here. And right around here. How lovely. Save. That thickness, right? I'm going to use that same thickness in here. And I'm using the tool again. And always check that you're on the correct layer. Right? One way to avoid being on the wrong layer is to lock the layer that you want untouched. But because I'm a smart aleck, and I think I'm always in control of everything, I always race off and not lock things and then pay the price. Okay, now we've got a line running through the belt here. I'm on a different layer. So it's easier to draw through the object. Draw the line and then go in and erase the bits that you don't want. This is an advantage of drawing digitally. Now we've got these straps on these buckles. So I'm going to do these free-handed. I'm going to go in, tight. And I'm not going to make them quite as thick as the buckle, but they're going to be thicker than the divide on the belt plate, because they're a bit more, well, they're a different color. That's one thing. There. That'll do it for the belt. For the belt, this forearm, this is definitely a different plane, right? So we get this detail in here. You know, I'm getting nervous here. I'm getting nervous in my old age. You see my key lines there? I'm going to lock it. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to just practice. So I'm not just talking here. I'm going to practice what I preach. I've actually inked. Sorry, I've actually locked my key line layer. I can feel an accident was about to happen. A massive amount of drawing on the wrong layer. For all you digital people out there, you know what I'm talking about. No matter how many years I've been doing this nonsense, drawing things on the wrong layer. Okay, I'll put the thickness of the belt in there. Nice. Good for nice. I'm going to put this contour here where this thigh muscle comes up. And that piece of detail there. So we've got a lot more of this to do. Let's define that face. He's got a strong jawline. He's a superhero, man. He got no space for some anemic jawline. Damn right. I've increased the size of his earpiece. And you see, I put that line in manually and I didn't use the curve tool line. That's because I was being lazy and I couldn't be bothered to change tool. But you get the idea. You could use the curve tool all the way through there. Right. So I think I've got my main. No, I haven't. Let's define that mouth a bit more, shall we? Let's take across that lip. Whoops. Let's get the bottom lip in. Let's put in a contour for the nose. Good. Teeth. Teeth clenched. He's snarling. He's angry. He wants to kick some butt. Put in. There was an actor called Kirk Douglas. He had a dimple on his chin. I remember seeing that as a kid. And I've always, for some reason, included it in a lot of my drawing. Ever since I was a child. Okay, so let's get some expression going here. What I was talking about earlier. We thicken up that brow. I know. Let's not overdo it, boy. I like the way how in comics, right, we get expressions through the mask. Totally impossible, of course. One of the best one of these has got to be Iron Man. You know, you would see Iron Man's expression through his metal, mask. No, I want this part over here a bit thicker, you know. Yeah. Yeah, man, he's looking pretty vicious now. Now, one thing, he's looking a bit Prince Charles. I think that eye's a bit too far. I'm going to move this eye back a bit. God damn, brother looks like Prince Charles. Whoops, sorry. I locked my layer, didn't I? Unlock, boy. I'm going to move that over. Well, I suppose better to look like Prince Charles than Prince Andrew at the moment. But I digress. Anyone missing? Let me oh, I forgot to put my music back on. I knew someone was missing. Will you please turn that up? Good. With the main contours. How are we doing for time? What? It's 8:16 already? I've only got 15 minutes left. God damn. Okay. As soon as we get our main contours done, that will give us a nice vantage point for next week to continue our excursion. But I'm going to put in the main and anatomical contours here. So he's got some abs going on, man. See, just in case you don't understand, here's the original costume. Look at that. His midriff is exposed. Man, that is such a cool costume. I remember when I was a kid, and I first saw that costume. Came out in the Avengers. I love that cover that I just showed you there. Brings back some amazing memories. Okay, let's put some creases in those pants. Okay, you're getting ahead of yourself, boy. One thing at a time. Don't get too excited. One thing at a time. Let me get the contours in here, because I started near the arms. Bicep, tricep. There we go. Bicep come up here. That comes over the top. Got some funny business going on behind there with some muscles. Let's get the shoulder done, shall we? That comes in down there. There, bicep, elbow comes out. I remember when I was very young, of course, you look at comics, you don't look at books of anatomy. So I learned a lot of anatomy from who I think is possibly my favorite comic artist of all time. The late, great Gil Kane. And I remember taking notice especially at some of the things that he would do anatomically. And then later discovering it. For real. No, I've actually, looking at this, I don't like this fist. I was not concentrating when I drew this. That fist is total crap. God damn, brother, what's going on here? Right. Let's fix this, shall we? Let's fix this. That does not look right. Right. Let's go back to basics. Let's put on our skeleton. What did I do there? Oh, yes, sorry, I moved my arms, didn't I? I moved my arms already. Okay, hang on. Let's have a look. That's what I forgot. Yeah, remember? I shifted this arm down. How did my fleshing out go? Okay, let's flip. Let's shift this all down. T for transform. Hold at the elbow and rotate. Right, it's keeping the original So I deselect that. That's going to disappear. Right. So my original thoughts weren't that bad. So what the hell did I do? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you call planning and not following your own plans. Now, I did something very naughty, didn't I? Let me switch off my skeleton. Yeah, I misinterpreted my own drawing. What the? Okay, let's go back to our inking. Now, quite often, as you ink yourself, you may well decide to make a change to your penciling as you ink. That's normal. Right? But here, I did some very dodgy stuff, mate. Right, I'm going to take that over there. Wrong layer. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. See that? It's the keyline layer. This stuff should not be here. Remember what I mentioned earlier? Inner detail is on the inner detail line. So let's go back to my silhouette, go back to my contour. Okay, now we got this. Now let's see if we can actually fix things. I'm going to take that up there. And I'm going to put that knuckle in there. Okay, I think that looks better. Okay, I prefer that. God damn, boy. Okay, so the contours are going in. Let me lock the key lines again. Yeah. So, Kerry, Billy Powers asking where you are, Kerry. Are you there? Are you hiding? Get that upper thigh muscle going in here. That's an important one going up there. The knee. Bottom of that muscle there. It's a tough one, this. So keep that one going in here. And the inner leg there. You have that coming in here. I like these calf muscles like that. Yeah, boy. That is what I call my Jim Steranko kneecap. That man is a beast. I'm too old, you know. I'm talking about people here that no one even knows who these people are anymore. Unless you're over. I'm sorry, Kerry, and all of you, anyone out there who might be watching this. I'm not sure if I'm entertaining you or entertaining myself. If you've never heard of a comic artist named Jim Steranko, go and check him out. That man was absolutely ridiculous. I think he was a magician. He drew and thought about things the way he lived his life. I think he's still alive as well. Thank goodness. He's still with us. An extraordinary individual. I remember the first time I saw one of his drawings, I couldn't believe it. He drew the Incredible Hulk. Way bigger than he was supposed to be. But the way he did it, you just didn't question whether or not it was right or wrong. It had an attitude behind it that was ridiculous. And his comics instantly shot up in value. That's when I first discovered, artists making comics very expensive. As a kid, we couldn't afford Jim Steranko comics. even that name, Jim Steranko, I mean, he was a complete character. Like I said, I think he was an escapologist or magician, something like that. Sometimes, sometimes these geniuses are just born, right? I mean, it's hard to explain where they come from, but total individuals. I'm going to put a bit of an accent on this earpiece. Let's put a few contours in for the hair. But what haven't I done for a while? Something I haven't done for a while. I have not.
Save!
So I shall oblige. How long we got left? God, 4 minutes, and I got some trailers to run. Okay, I'm just going to put in some few major contours for the hair. Then I'm going to leave you with some parting messages of some of the stuff we got going on here at the Madness Entertainment Group, and also me personally. A few Kickstarters and GoFundMe campaigns that I'm involved with. Good. Okay, so let's see where we are. Let's put a few more contours here quickly. We shall render this properly next week. But we got all of our main key lines in, which is great. So let's switch off our sketch. Okay, so there is our Goliath inked. The main key lines, not the rendering. The main key lines to the first Goliath is done. And on Kerry's exercise, which he so kindly submitted, we kind of corrected some of her anatomy, and I fixed some of the bits on mine that I thought wasn't quite right. That's Kerry's Superman pose. So now I'm going to run a few trailers. Thanks so much for joining me on Late Night Art Attack. Please, if you've got any questions, just fire them across. You can find me easily on Facebook at Jerome Hinds Art, and also on YouTube and Instagram, of course. And yes, this was a nice, I like the fact that someone wanted help with a drawing, and I was able to do that on the show. I do that quite often in schools, in colleges. And yeah, it was great fun. It's nice bit of switching up between my exercise and someone else's exercise. So please keep it locked here. I'll be back here at the same time. And I was here earlier this morning, of course, for Late Night Art Attack. I'm going to run a trailer on that, few bits and pieces, and I'll see you back here the same time next week. Until then, peace.
Previously on Late Night Art Attack.
Ozzy, what are you doing? Come and have a look at this lovely book that was sent over.
You're wrapping in the burning.
Oh, go on and spit the bat out your mouth. No one can understand you like that.
Say how 5 dentists and all.
Oh, well, that's not much better. Ozzy, why don't you sing to me? I can always understand you when you sing to me.
Fucking my brains. What is this my publisher sent me? Inked in black with art so sweet.
So what do you think? Do you like it?
Oh, Lord, yeah.
If you like stories about truth, honor, and justice, then you should check out MAGA Man. It is Donald Trump as many now see him, the defender of justice and a warrior for peace through strength. Mega Man is an all-American style 22-page comic book, so get over to fundmycomic.com and support the culture of truth, honor, and justice. With Mega Man, the most needed hero of all. Mega Man.
Thunderzone Comics returns. 5 all-new comics: Sumo Boy, Weirdo, Marshall Strong, Big House Blues, and Supercross. Plus a free how to draw characters from the Thunderzone. When you back all 5 new releases, the Kickstarter campaign is live now. Thunderzone Comics!
If you missed the live viewing of any Meg production, you can find all our content on Roku or as a member of this channel. Madness Entertainment Group.